Good morning. Welcome in everyone to HogvilleNET YouTube Live. I'm Kevin McPherson, your host. We do this daily. This week we've been doing it early every day. It's Thursday. We're about to close the book on July, last day of the month. Tomorrow we start a new chapter. It's August. You're thinking basketball? We're really talking basketball? Of course, we do it daily. Plenty to talk about. I always say that we kind of intro the same way. Why not, right? It's Arkansas Razorbacks men's basketball. It's John Calipari. The brand is strong. We're in that weird time where we don't have practices to talk about. And we've got football season coming up, so we'll be talking a lot more about that for certain. When you're kicking the tires, though, on this basketball program, there are plenty of things we can point to and say this is relevant right now. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to hit on three things. We got 4 hoop hogs out in the desert. I alluded to this a couple of days ago. We started talking about these elite camps that are taking place in Las Vegas, and I knew of one future hog that was source had told me was going to take part in it. Then we find out 3 players in addition to the future hog, 3 current Razorbacks are also taking part. So that's a total of 4 in a 54 player field. That's a pretty sizable percentage, actually, relative to the rest of the field. We're also going to talk about one of Arkansas's top priority recruits. We talk about him a lot. The 7'1" center, 280-pound. I've got him ranked the 6th best player in the country, Diane. In my Wednesday conversation with him, some things that he told me that I thought were interesting, including his comment on J.J. Andrews, who we keep talking about of late. Now, since he's been committed since May and since he's kind of on a roll right now after that MVP performance and winning Peach Jam for a second consecutive season. He's kind of a hot commodity right now, and maybe Calipari uses him to help recruits. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll finish up because we got non-conference scheduling news yesterday from CBS Sports analyst John Rothstein, and I have a couple of things to add to that. You can call it intel. It's just a couple of little updates that I find interesting since we're talking schedule now. And we have another opponent in the non-conference. Nothing major there. It's a mid-major, nothing high major to talk about. But yesterday we talked about ESPN Joe Lenardi's updated bracketology and how brutal Arkansas' schedule really is. Well, this new edition on the schedule might be it's a bye game, and it's one of those games you expect to win, and I think it's smartly placed in the non-conference schedule in between what will shake out to be two big mega matchups in December at neutral sites. So we're going to hit schedule last. In the middle there, we're going to talk Irfan Diane, who's I'm probably as intrigued with him as any prospect in 2026, simply because of the skill set and the size. And we've been talking about him going back to mid-May extensively when I told you then that this coaching staff was prioritizing Diane. But let's start off with the 4 hogs out in the desert. It is a combo elite camp, and this is sponsored by Nike. It's Chris Paul, so CP3, future Naismith Hall of Famer. What he's played forever, it seems like, still going strong in the NBA. So it's his camp for guards, lead guards, and combo guards, combined with Jason Tatum, also a future Hall of Famer, an NBA champion 2 years ago with the Boston Celtics. And his part of the camp focuses on wings, small forwards, combo forwards. So there's a little positional versatility. There aren't really any big men in the traditional sense in these camps, in this combined camp. But last year it was held in Las Vegas. They're back there again. We talked about this 2 days ago. We heard J.J. Andrews was going to be taking part in it, and sure enough, I got to look at the rosters early yesterday, and I started tweeting out, J.J. Andrews, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond III. Those were the 2 players on the current roster that I wondered about 2 days ago when I brought it up. I'm like, I wonder if they'll be invited to this wing camp. They're 2 of the best wings in the country. Sure enough, they were. And the guard part of it, I wondered out loud about Darius Acuff Jr. and DJ Wagner. Well, it turns out it's Malik Thomas who's taken part in this camp, and the guard in the CP3 part of it. So what happens is they play at the same location. They go through, different drills, instruction, and then they come together and they put players in together from the wings and small forwards and combo forwards in with the lead guards and the combo guards, and they play 5-on-5. 54 campers total. About half of those are college players, and the other half are some of the top high school players. And when they play 5-on-5, the high school players only compete against each other. The college players only compete against each other, and that's how they do it. And so it's kind of an interesting format. I like it. Again, Nike sponsored. So it's one of the big time camps, and we'll go over some of the names and some of the campers that are, not related to Arkansas, not tied to Arkansas, and you'll understand the quality of what's been brought out to the desert to go through this competition. I think the travel day was Tuesday. I'm not sure how much they accomplished late Tuesday, and they did a lot on Wednesday. NBA scouts are there. College head coaches are not allowed in, but NBA scouts are, and that's what I was telling you folks, that I'll be getting feedback from these scouts who are in attendance, my contacts. And I mean, boom, out of the gates, unsolicited. I start getting tweets yesterday from an NBA scout source who's one of my best sources, by the way. He gives me great info all the time. And this is what he blurts out in text, but I liked it a lot. It was Malik Thomas, woo-wee. Malik Thomas, woo-wee. 3 for 3 from deep. Good mix with DJ in the backcourt. Okay. So this is a scout, understands what Arkansas has. This particular scout has known DJ Wagner and his family for a while, and he knows DJ last year emerged as Arkansas's lead guard. So he's referencing how this looks like it's going to be a good fit for Arkansas, not because DJ's also out at this camp. He's not. Just kind of looking ahead to this upcoming season, Malik Thomas will be a true freshman. So Malik Thomas, woo-wee, 3 of 3 from deep. And it looks like he'll be a good mix with DJ in the Arkansas's backcourt in the upcoming season. I have another NBA scout source who I asked about Malik, who's also attending, and he said when in the 5-on-5 that he saw, he goes, I didn't see how many threes he made. He goes, I don't know that he missed a shot, though. He said he went off. So the man was a human torch. We know he's capable of this. He is a volume shooter scorer. You look at him statistically at overtime elite last year, 38 plus % from three on good volume, 8.4 attempts per game. And we know that the biggest question mark with all the talent, all the size, all the athleticism, the veteran qualities, all the retention, a top 10 looking type of roster coming into the season, biggest question marks are what? Depth on the front line especially, but really 3-point shooting. And there's some guys capable. You're just not sure how it's going to translate. So this is one 5-on-5 competition, I guess on day one of it, what's a 3-day event. I think it wraps on Friday and players return home Saturday. So, Wednesday was kind of the first day this stuff's ramping up, and Malik Thomas is out there going nuts. And remember, we just gave you reporting earlier in the week on one of the segments where we came out and we ranked the top 5 players from Arkansas summer practices. And Malik Thomas, at times when we were given source updates through the summer, was one of the standouts, other times not mentioned as much. And so when the dust settled, the idea was he was just outside that top 5. It was kind of a roller coaster. He started good, hit some rough patches, and then kind of finished strong at the end. Well, it looks like he's parlaying that strong finish. It looks like he's parlaying the strong finish to summer camp at Arkansas into some hot shooting and solid play when we jump into this elite camp action on Wednesday. This was a great thing for me to see because I have said all along that I see Malik playing off the bench, coming in with Acuff at the 1, DJ as a combo guard, starting games that way, and then Malik Thomas checking in. Can he earn starter value whether he actually starts games or comes off the bench? Sure he can. But a big part of that is being a weapon like what he was. This is not chopped liver that he's in these 5-on-5 games. And remember, the college players, he was one of only 3 incoming freshmen, by the way, amongst the college players. So the other ones are veterans. He was one of only 3 incoming freshmen. So if it's college players going 5-on-5 and there's only 3 of them that are incoming freshmen, that means he's out there doing damage against more veteran guys. Who's he been knocking heads with in summer practice? Guys like Billy Richmond III and Carter Knox. D'ing his ass up. I heard he struggled a lot with that, but it probably helped him out. And so again, when we go through some of the names in this camp, you're going to get an idea of just how good this competition is. But it's really good to hear that. Now, I did ask some more follow-up questions. So, what is it? Do they time these? Are these like full games? And they, it's kind of informal in that sense. They're playing on a ballroom floor. Some photos were put out. I got one sent to me. I did not tweet it out. I probably will today of the players in what looks like a ballroom in a big hotel or something, but they've made it into a makeshift basketball court. JJ Andrews did tweet on his, or excuse me, put out on his Instagram account a photo of him in this same environment, the same, so very similar photo to the one I have. So if you go to his IG account, you can see that. I also tweeted that photo out yesterday on my X account, Twitter account. So they're not really keeping a running clock, but it is highly competitive. And the NBA scouts, it's a setting where they can really get some value out of that. I then asked my source, both scouts, about the other Hogs, that being Carter Knox, Billy Richmond III. Again, they're both taking part, as is future Hog JJ Andrews. And the one scout said he did not see enough of them to really have any feedback. And the scout who sent me the quotes about Malik Thomas initially, he said, and I'm going to quote him. He didn't say anything about the other three. He only said, only Thomas stood out. So there you have it. So far, only Thomas stood out. So nothing else to add about Carter Knox, Billy Richmond III, JJ Andrews. I will have a complete rundown on what all four of these guys did by the time this is finished. Remember, day one, small sample size. It sounds really good, though, what Malik Thomas is doing out there. And here's just some other names to give you an idea of just how good this competition is out in Vegas. Let's see. Tommy Howell, Florida. Part of a national championship team, one of the most versatile forwards. He can play like a power forward. He can stretch the floor a little bit. He's got good athleticism, can crash in and slash from the wings and out high. Handles well enough to maneuver. One of the best guys getting into position, either getting an offensive rebound out of his area, in his area. But Thomas Howell out of Florida, Otega Owe out of Kentucky, all SEC last year. The guy that took his name, both he and Howell took him out of the draft when they were getting some first-round projections. Same with Yaxel Lindenborg, now at Michigan, arguably the top-rated transfer portal player. Remember that. He committed to Michigan, then we thought maybe he'd stay in the draft and be a first-round pick. He returns. These guys went through the NBA Draft Combine as well, and they're at this camp. Miles Bird, one of the top transfer portal players out of San Diego State, he went through the draft process as well. He went into the portal and then came back to San Diego State. Isaiah Evans, who's going to be a key veteran for Duke, a Final Four team. The Hogs will see him this year, in addition to Otega Owe and Thomas Howell, Kentucky and Florida. PJ Haggerty, now at Kansas State after transferring from Memphis. We talk about him a lot. Braden Smith, who seems like he's been at Purdue forever. Teamed up with Zach Edey, helped get Purdue to a national championship game 2 years ago, lost to UConn in that. We know that. Braden Smith is back at Purdue. Josh Hubbard at Mississippi State. You know what damage he's done against the Hogs. The Razorbacks will face him again. Robert Wright III, now at BYU. Really good freshman last year. Everybody talked about VJ Edgecombe at Baylor, but Robert Wright III was a really, really impactful freshman guard. I remember that game in November when I was down in Dallas and covered Arkansas versus Baylor. He hit some big shots in that game. Well, he also hit the portal and now at BYU. Elliot Cadeau, another player that seems like he's been in college basketball forever, transferred in the offseason from North Carolina to Michigan. LeBaron Fallon, who entered the draft, came back to Bama after a solid freshman season last year. Kingston Flemings, who will be a freshman. He's one of the freshmen, incoming freshmen in college basketball like Malik Thomas is. And he's at Houston. We know Arkansas will face Houston. He's one of the 3 5-star players there. So that just gives you an idea of just the college players. Some of the high school guys, 2 that are connected to Arkansas. Brandon McCoy Jr., top 5-rated 5-star, 6'5" guard out of St. John Bosco in Los Angeles High School. Arkansas is recruiting him and has prioritized him. He's taken part in this camp. Cole Clower, the 6'7" wing out of the state of North Carolina, released his top 8. But Arkansas, and within a day, Arkansas and Kentucky at the end of Nike Peach Jam offered him scholarships. We've talked about Cole Clower, kind of a 6'7", streaky but effective 3-point shooter. He's also taking part. Some other 2026 5-star guys: Cam Williams, a forward; Caden Samuels, class of 2027, Marcus Sears Jr., arguably the top player in that 2027 class. So there's a lot of really good talent out here, out in Las Vegas, and so far so good from Malik Thomas. And again, we'll have reports on all the Razorbacks, and I'm counting J.J. Andrews among those as a Razorback. Right, he's committed. It's a matter of time. It's a formality, but a great start again. And you got to be really happy for Malik Thomas, and then hope he continues to build on that. But again, when you think about Arkansas's 3-point shooting being a question mark, he's one of those guys that you're counting on to deliver. So you love hearing this. It's a great seed to plant that, hey, maybe he's showing now what he's about to start dropping and throwing daggers when he steps on the court in early November. Most freshmen are up and down. We saw that last year at Arkansas. And as good as they were at the end of the year, some struggles early. You just never know. But so far, so good again from Malik Thomas. All right, let's move on now. Airfan Diane, the 7'1", 280-pound center that Arkansas has prioritized. We know he has. We broke this news actually on this show back on July 19th as we finish out the month, nearly 2 weeks ago. It was a Saturday. And I came on, I told you, his visit is set for August 29th through the 31st. That's the weekend that the football Hogs host Alabama A&M. He'll attend basketball practice that morning. That's a mid-afternoon game, kickoff time. He'll attend that football game. This week, though, he told me a couple of days ago that he was taking unofficial visits to Houston and SMU. And Houston and UConn are kind of teams you hear about more than any in terms of who might be front runners, especially Houston lately. And he's got that unofficial visit. And I think yesterday I said, I'll be surprised if we do get a commitment from him this soon or hear something like that. There's some folks that think something might pop. I just don't think it will, based on what his guardian said about how they want to set official visits up in September and October. But then I had a conversation with Diane yesterday. We talked about several things. So not talking to the guardian right now. If I said agent, I meant guardian. Talking to the player, and he told me that one of the things is I heard that he might put out a top 12 list like sometime this weekend. And I asked him about that. Are you going to drop a top 12 list? Because I know he's got those visits, including Houston, through the weekend. And he said next week. He said next week after the visits. He says, I will post it next week. So that's how he framed it to me. So we'll see what the timing actually is. But he's going to put out a top 12. So if you're worried about him committing while he's on his unofficial visit to Houston, I mean, you can't rule out a player making up their mind after thinking they're going to wait out a little bit, and then they change their mind because they're having such a great visit and they're sold. And like, I don't need to take other visits. I don't need a list. That could always happen. But he seemed pretty straightforward that he's going to have a list out. And the plan the whole time has been visits in September and some in October, and then making a commitment announcement maybe late October, sometime in October, in time to sign during the early period, which starts, kind of mid-November-ish. So that's kind of what it still looks like to me, with Arkansas, again, having an official visit date for the end of August. The interesting thing about the recruiting cycle right now, it's a quiet period through Sunday. So it allows him to go on college campuses. Starting Monday, August 4th, it begins a 17-day dead period, August 4th through the 20th. So dead period means you can't take visits. And, basically no visits on campus for players, and no coaches can't go off campus to see players. So, he's going to get these unofficial visits in. Then he's looking ahead. And again, August 20th is when the dead period ends. Then it goes back to a quiet period. His visit to Arkansas is that weekend of August 29th through the 31st. So there's more than a week after the dead period ends and before he arrives at Arkansas where maybe he could squeeze in another official visit or some unofficial visits, whatever. But again, the plan has been they're going to set up most of those and announce most of those official visits for September through October, and then we just see. We've talked so much about what he brings to the table, just one of the most talented players in the country, having the sixth best rated player in that class of 2026. Very skilled guy. We back in mid-May, I told you the staff was infatuated, in love with him because of his motor and his competitiveness, and how for such a big guy, basically a walking mountain, he's engaged at both ends and gets up and down. And that's not going into the skill set. The ability to finish around the basket with a true low post game, can finish over either shoulder, obviously finish above the rim with power, can face up and shoot, good passer, can knock down some threes. All the things we've talked about pretty much consistently going back to mid-May. We're inching closer and closer now, effectively a month away until that expected Arkansas visit. But he had other things to say. You know, I asked him about JJ, and JJ dropping that tweet out the other day when his Arkansas visit day hit the Twitter sphere, and JJ tweets out lock in and tagged his name. And I asked him about that and the relationship with JJ, and he said, you know, we've both been. He didn't say they've been busy. He said haven't had a chance to talk to him lately, and they have been busy. JJ, we know, is in Vegas now, just coming off of Peach Jam. Diane just wrapped up his summer, and now on these visit tours, at least this week. So they haven't talked in a minute, but he said, what I liked what he said about JJ is that he is a good friend. So he refers to JJ as a good friend of his. And I thought that, you know, I think that's interesting because, again, the Guardian's the one that told me and expressed the really good on-court chemistry between those two players in MVPA Top 100 camp, with both of them excelled. Another high-profile event back in June, and you know, talking about the on-court chemistry, but there's got to be some off-court there too. You know, JJ tweeting out to him and tagging him. Now Diane telling me that he considers JJ to be a good friend. That's cool stuff. We'll see what it leads to. You know, again, I've mentioned, does JJ show up? Is he on campus for some of these visits, a la Darius Acuff Jr. last year? So the other thing I asked Diane about his Arkansas visit, I said, what are your thoughts about looking ahead to that? Acknowledging that he's known Calipari for over a year since he went to his campus last year, which we reported here multiple times and reminded you Calipari was actually recruiting him last year, offered him last July, went out to Iowa United Prep last year. So he referenced that, and then he said about the visit, and I'm going to quote him, comma, I'm excited to go visit there and everything, comma, see how the practices are going, comma, and see the guys, or, the Arkansas Razorbacks, the players, meet the team, whatever. It's a good quote. He's excited about it. He's looking forward to it. So we got quite a bit out of Erfan Diane yesterday as a lead up. Again, we're now about a month out from that visit, so a lot can happen in a month. We'll see what shakes out. But things are looking good in terms of his excitement level and his friendship with J.J. Andrews. And then, he's going to put out a list of 12. That seems like a lot. Tay Kenny, who's going to visit Arkansas in late September, about a month after Diane, the 6'2", 5-star guard out of Kentucky that plays at Overtime Elite. He recently put out a top 12 list. It obviously exceeds the amount of visits that he's both taken, combined with how many he's got planned, at least for now, to take. That concludes, at least for now, with the Arkansas visit late September. So another top 12 list, maybe. We'll see how many teams it is. But again, Diane says next week. I guess that means once that dead period starts, he's got time to think about it. He'll put a list out. All right, real quick, let's jump to a schedule update. John Rothstein, CBS Sports, put out a little tweet like he tends to do to break scheduling news. Arkansas will host Queens. That is a Division I school. I'll explain that. We'll host Queens at Bud Walton Arena on December 16th. If you remember Rocco Miller, who does a really good job at bracketeer.org, he does a good job of also breaking scheduling in games, especially mid-majors playing high majors. And he reported a few weeks ago that Arkansas was going to host St. Mary's. Was it St. Mary, Mount St. Mary's, one of the Mount St. Mary's, on December 16th. And then he had to retract that, and we had to go and clean. We all had to then come back and follow up and say, actually, that's not going to happen. So that game was in, and then it was out. Well, this is the same playing date, December 16th. Arkansas, according to Rothstein, is going to host Queens at Bud Walton Arena. And the full name of the school is Queen's University of Charlotte. So it's based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. If you were thinking you were playing Queens, and that's a New York City school on December 16th, 4 days before you go at Bud Walton Arena, 4 days before you go to Brooklyn to play Houston. No, it's Queen's University of Charlotte. It's a Division I school, plays in the Atlantic Sun. And so that's the same conference of UCA. And we know Arkansas is going to host the in-state Division I Central Arkansas University Central Arkansas Bears on November 11th at Bud Walton Arena. That's reporting I brought to you months ago that game will happen. And so you have two opponents now, at least two, in your non-conference against Atlantic Sun teams with Queen's University of Charlotte. Queens last season in the Atlantic Sun finished 20-15 overall, 11-7 in the league for sixth place. And so now we know the 8 of Arkansas's non-conference games, they get a total of 13, so we have 5 unknown. So you start November 3rd, Arkansas hosts Southern out of the SWAC at Bud Walton Arena. Again, November 11th, it's UCA and Bud Walton Arena out of the A-Sun. Then the only other November game I know of now is November 27th, CBS Sports, a 7 p.m. tip. Arkansas, Duke, and Chicago. That'll be a big one. Then you jump to December 3rd. That's a midweek game against Louisville at home, Bud Walton Arena, in the 3rd annual ACC SEC Challenge. That'll be a big one. Then you skip ahead, so far as we know, to December 13th. That'll be back in American Airlines Arena in Dallas, where Arkansas lost to Baylor last year. This time around, they're playing Texas Tech, another Big 12 opponent. Again, that's a Saturday, December 13th. Then you come back home to Bud Walton Arena. Apparently, you're playing Queen's University of Charlotte on December 16th at BWA. And then you're back for a mega Big 12 neutral site matchup, again against Houston at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn on December 20th. So by my math, counting it backwards, Houston, Queens, Texas Tech, Louisville, that's 4. Who am I leaving out? We go back to Thanksgiving Day. That's Duke and Chicago, November 27th. November 11th is UCA. And then November 3rd is Southern. So that's 7. The 8th one is the road game at Michigan State. We just don't know a date yet. Probably be a November date. We don't know that. It might be December. But that's the 8th opponent that we know about, that road game against the Big Ten's Michigan State. Michigan State, by the way, won the Big Ten last year. Won the regular season and ended up being an Elite 8 team. So it's a brutal schedule. Queens should be a game. It's a bye game. So here's a little source intel for you. And I actually started hearing this over the weekend, and I just followed up on it since we got the other to say, is this a definite? And it's still, the wording is the attempt to schedule Gonzaga for an exhibition game at Bud Walton Arena this year, quote, open quote, likely to not happen this season, close quote. That's what I was told over the weekend. Then I followed up, like, is it likely? Is it a done deal for sure? Likely not to happen. Remember, we told you that we were hearing for a while that there was like an attempt, maybe because of the relationship with Mark Few, John Calipari, to set up maybe like a 3-year deal where this season would be an exhibition game or a regular season neutral site game, and then maybe home and away the 2 following years. But we weren't sure where it was going. Well, it looked like apparently it was an exhibition game followed by a home and away. We knew the Baylor game, which we thought was going to happen, blew up, at least for this year. It looks like the Gonzaga situation is the same. And I'm told that Arkansas is still trying to, finalize some opponents. They're not finished. Just because things aren't announced doesn't mean that they don't know about games. And you could think, well, maybe they know about all their games and they just haven't announced all of them yet. No, they're still working on the schedule. But I'm told that the Gonzaga exhibition game at BWA, what they were really efforting to do, is likely to not happen this season. So it's not absolute. It's not 100% dead. The way it's worded, I guess we'll see if it comes back around. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen. And I don't have any news on our source on information on who then might they look toward. Chris Woolard, who's been John Calipari's right-hand man forever, he's kind of the scheduler in chief. And I have a source that told me that he wanted this season. He wanted, and I guess this was in collaboration with Calipari, that they really only wanted to have 6 bye games. Well, you get 13 non-conference games, meaning you would have 7 meaningful games, likely against high majors. And when we thought Baylor was still on the schedule, before we learned, and Calipari told me when I asked him when he was in Little Rock a few weeks ago, that was finally put to bed and dead for this season, that would have been 6. We just went through the other 5 when we went through the 8-0 non-conference games. 5 of those 8 are high majors. Baylor would have been 6. But Woolard said, according to my source, that he was wanting to have only 6 bye games, which would have meant 7 high majors. So we'll see what happens now. Arkansas's got 5 that we know about. When the dust settles, they may end up with 8 bye games, which 8 plus 5 would get you to the 13 non-conference. So you may end up with 8. But the idea coming into the season was they were going to try to be, really aggressive with scheduling and have only 6 bye games and I guess 7 high majors. Doesn't look like that's going to happen now. Maybe they can still have a high major added and get back to 6 where you lost the 6 with Baylor, and then you would end up probably with 7 bye games. So we'll see how it shakes out. All right, 31 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. Happy Thursday. Wrap up your July. Go out with a bang. I don't know what that means. Do what you got to do to enjoy the rest of your July. We're still early in the morning, and then tomorrow it's August 1st. I don't know that matters to anybody. I think the cool thing is we're getting closer to football season, and I'll have a big announcement about football season and a new part in my role with HogvilleNET, YouTube Live, and Hogville.net. So I've got an announcement coming out. I'll probably make that tomorrow on tomorrow's show, and so that's on a personal note, but it's also a professional note. And so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to add to my plate. And I'm looking forward to the next challenge in addition to what I'm already doing, because I'm having a lot of fun doing these. Thank you for being here. If something breaks that's important later today, I'm going to jump back on and we'll share that. If not, I will be back on tomorrow. Appreciate all of you. Take care of yourselves. Be good out there. We'll see you soon.